So, hello everyone. I think we can start. I'm glad to see everyone here today. We will have a very interesting discussion, I think, under the topic education in Central Asia. And thank you for joining us today. So just a few organizing moments, please keep your microphones muted so everyone feel comfortable. I wanted to say that today we have wonderful speakers, and I think that our chairman of the Eurasian Creative Guild, Gart Stamp, will present them in more details. And I'm giving the floor to him. Gart, please, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. It's great to see some old friends, shall we call them, and some new friends as well. Education is a subject very close to my heart. I've been in education for over 30 years and spent a lot of that time, about 7 or 8 years in Kazakhstan, working on education. Before that, I worked in the UK at various levels and also in Norway and South Africa, looking at various educational models and trying to pick out the best bits, shall we say. It's a great honor to be here moderating today with such illustrious educational colleagues and professionals here, all experts in their own field, and I'm going to give as much time to them as possible. I also want to enable the visitors here to actually ask questions and to put their comments as well, because I think one of the great things about international sort of conferences like this is it gives people an opportunity to say their piece and also to ask questions. Education is a hot topic at the moment, rightly so, around the globe, not just in Central Asia, which we're going to be talking about. In the UK, for example, the latest exam results and the rush to get to universities for our students in Britain has made the headlines for the last few days. People sort of saying that the results are down and the pandemic results that were given were too high and all of this sort of thing. Where I am in Europe, the topic is slightly different in that the topic is about whether we teach enough history and culture in our schools here. And so that's our latest educational bugbear at the moment. And the word dumbing down keeps getting used quite a lot. I don't like it, but it keeps getting used. So without further ado, I'm going to actually introduce our speakers and tell you a bit about them, and then give them the floor to actually put their viewpoints. We don't have any specific agenda. We want to solve any problems today, but we really do want to actually get into the nitty-gritty of what education for Central Asia means. So without further ado, let me introduce our first speaker, Dr. Rafis Abazov. Very nice to see you again. He's visiting professor at KazNaru in Almaty in Kazakhstan, where he manages a joint program with the Earth Institute Columbia University, which is in New York. He is a great collector of rare books on exploration of Central Asia, and indeed has written 10 books at least himself, including the cultural customs of Central Asian republics. And that I think sums up a lot about what the people around this table, if we can call it that today, are about. They like to actually research their topics. I think I'm going to introduce all the speakers first and then we'll come back. Okay, so our second speaker today will be Miron Shokov Utomov, a graduate at Westminster International University in Tashkent. Currently, he is the head of the International Cooperation and Rating Department at Silk Road, which is the International University of Tourism and Cultural Heritage. That's actually located in Samarkand, obviously on the ancient Silk Road. Our third speaker is Dr. Loretta O'Donnell, who has been in Kazakhstan, I believe, since 2013, when she was appointed Vice Provost for Academic Affairs at Nazarbayev University in Nur-Sultan in Kazakhstan. She has served as interim provost for a number of other universities as well, and I'm sure she can talk about those. She liaises with Nazarbayev University, their strategic partners, including Duke, National University of Singapore, University of Wisconsin-Madison, among others. And she's also the co-founder and co-chair of the Nazarbayev University and KazGU Annual International Academic Integrity Conference. You could have given it a smaller title, but anyway, thank you. Our next speaker will be Siddharth Saxena. He is director of the Cambridge Central Asia Forum at Jesus College in Cambridge, and also a development manager at Cavendish Laboratory and senior scientist at the University of Cambridge. He's launched science and technology projects in Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, and he directed the Center for Materials and Microsystems in Trento, Italy, and the Center for High Technology in Tashkent, Uzbekistan. So a very wide experience there. Our final speaker today will be Igorym Romanova, who is the Vice Rector for Global Partnerships at Almaty Management University. She's actually a graduate from UK universities, University of Aberdeen and also University of Exeter. And she also is a board member of the Chamber of Commerce for Industry France Kazakhstan and a founding member of the Eurasian chapter of the United Nations Principles for Responsible Management Education. Again, you've all got far too long titles, and trying to remember them all is very difficult. I'm going to go back now to our first speaker and open the floor up to Dr. Rafis Abazov. Please give us your views on education in Central Asia and maybe where you think it's going. Could you unmute, please, Dr. Abazov?
Yeah, okay. Hello, good afternoon to everyone. I'm really honored to be here at this wonderful panel. And thank you very much to organizing committee for inviting me. And for this event, I decided to choose just one angle and one topic. And I was involved in this particular development quite for a while, and I believe it's a very important topic. So I will talk about education in Central Asia from one angle. International development, internationalization of higher education in Central Asia, using example mostly from Kazakhstan. So I was told I have about 10 minutes, and then I will have floor open for questions and or any comments and suggestions. So first, what I will do, I will assess the concept of internationalization of higher education, and I will talk about different models and different levels of international development at universities in Central Asia. Second, I will talk about implication. Oh yeah, I would really appreciate if our partners will launch my PowerPoint presentation. So next slide, please. Number 3, I will talk about concept of internationalization using various case studies in the region, focusing on Kazakhstan. And finally, I will summarize my finding of my research and my project and this presentation. Next slide, please. For purpose of this presentation, I decided to use a very simple definition, what I got from Professor Knight. I think he's a British professor, and he introduced this particular definition in 2003. He says, internationalization is a process of integrating an international and intercultural and global dimensions into the purpose, functions, or delivery of tertiary education. So basically, it's a very important definition which gives you like a flavor what can be done and what should be done. So when you talk about Central Asia, you can there are a lot of jokes, a lot of funny stories, a lot of sad stories, but I will just go straight to the main points. So building international collaboration with foreign universities. Next slide, please. And developing collaboration. international cooperation became a very important part of changing higher education in Central Asia. In order to meet challenges of globalization, in order to meet challenges of integrating Central Asian economies into global economy. And most important driving forces behind this process, we can mention three. Of course, we can mention more, but let me focus on three of them. The most important driver was changes in economies of Central Asia and labor market. Different type of economies, different type of transition, different type of labor market development require different skills from those who graduate from local universities in order to meet demands from local labor market and local economies. Number two, because of the changes, technological, economic, free market development, young people need new skills. An idea was to use international experience and expertise to launch new skills and to introduce new concepts and skills and competencies into higher education in Central Asia. And this is quite controversial. Some people disagree with me, but I'm talking about emergence of innovative economy. People say, no, the Central Asian economy still remains like traditional economy, relying on agriculture, energy, but still, actually, when we talk about changes over the past 30 years, a lot of things were looked like innovations, maybe 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, even maybe now. And young people, young business people, they experiment with new ideas. Therefore, I believe innovations slowly but surely moving into economy and shaping Central Asian economies, especially in Kazakhstan or in large cities in Central Asia. And finally, technology transfer. We talk about importance of technology transfer. This is topic which was important for many third world countries, and we could see slowly but surely technology transfer from developed countries, from Western Europe, from East Asia, from Americas to Central Asia. Just mention automobile industry. In Kazakhstan right now, Kazakhstan produces or assembles cars from different brands, from South Korea, from Western Europe, from Germany, from other countries, and Uzbekistan successfully actually assembles cars from United States and from South Korea. So again, but when you talk about technology transfer, you're talking about not South Koreans or Americans or Germans moving to Kazakhstan, to Uzbekistan, or to other republics to work on those plants. You're talking on people who learn about new technologies and how to handle new technologies. Next slide, please. So when we talk about university level, at building international collaboration at university level, we talk about three different dimensions. Number one is we talk about students, bachelor, master, and PhD students. Next one is teaching faculty, especially junior faculty. And third, researchers and research faculty. They work on many universities focus on changing mindset on those three groups of people. Next, please. Okay, probably we'll skip this slide, but this slide shows introduction. Can you come back? Shows introduction of new technology, online education, quite before COVID, and using of this particular technologies for online education. Next one. Next one. So, and when talking about different approaches or different strategies, we talk about one approach is capacity building at the different universities. I could see at many universities in Kazakhstan, in Uzbekistan, especially now, and we could see also in a small degree in Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan, ideas to develop capacity building for faculty members, for administration, for managers, making sure that they are more effective and work better according to international standards. So we talk about one level is teaching. So better teaching, better quality of teaching, and introducing teaching in English language as well. Second, capacity building and management. Of course, we need international expertise, international knowledge to manage universities in Central Asia according to international standards, making sure they're effective, lean, and managers actually know about a way how they would like to move universities and directions where they would like to move universities. And number three, of course, capacity building in research area. So again, in the past, a lot of scholars conducted research just to for the sake of research. I remember talking to very respectable professors. They do research and they said, what's happened next? They publish articles or books and leave them on the shelves. But idea is, okay, how to convert those very interesting, sometimes very important studies into business projects, into startups, into new commercially viable ideas. So next, please. So we talk about different formats, the ways how universities change. And here we could see several levels of international collaboration, and I could see how they work together. Number one is convergence of education. Idea is that many universities in Central Asia, many Central Asian republics joined Bologna process. They introduced new type of education, bachelor, master, PhD, actually using best practices from the past and using best practices from the international experience. This is one direction where most of the universities in Central Asia are moving towards. Second, in order to improve quality of education, in order to improve quality of teaching and research, idea is to introduce international standards. But introduction of international standards means international recognition and through accreditation. So a lot of universities in Kazakhstan initially, but right now, a lot of universities in Uzbekistan participate in international ranking, international accreditation programs. So they would like to make sure that their programs reflect the international standards. Next, I would go to maybe, not slide, next point. International academic mobility. So basically, a lot of students, a lot of faculty members, teaching faculty members, plus a lot of researchers actually use different opportunities for academic mobility, and they travel to different countries, not just for sake of travel. They go there to learn about the international experience and try to bring back basic international expertise back home to home universities. Next, right now we could see rise of research collaboration between different universities, including universities in United Kingdom. I know Cambridge University was very active in building bridges with Central Asian universities, but also we could see, we can name other universities like Reading, ALC, and the others, those who work closely with many partners in field of research. Next is, it's just emerging, but I could see that many foreign universities, foreign researchers, including universities from United Kingdom, participate into building capacities in field of technologies. So Kazakhstan, for example, and some other Central Asian republics put great attention into development of business incubators, technoparks. Here you could see a lot of collaborations. And the final point here, international joint degree programs. I could see that was one guy who graduated from Westminster program in Tashkent. This is a wonderful example of joint degree programs, which gives opportunity for students from, from developing background, from developing country background, those who cannot afford studying in the United States or United Kingdom, but they can still study excellent international programs at their home countries because they have access to joint degree programs. Next slide, please. And next, we talk about tools, what we use for developing international programs. Here, I will just list them without going into further details. And if you have any questions, let me know. Many students, many faculty members, both teaching and research, have access to mobility grants. The students have access to academic credit transfers. Many scholars and many students, young scholars, participate in international research collaboration grants. programs, academic partnership, international conferences, and finally, you could see 2 large programs. I know that Bolashak still exists in Kazakhstan. In the past, it was big, large international scholarship program in Uzbekistan called UMID. I'm sure it still exists, but probably it will be in one way or another developed in Uzbekistan as well. And the next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, no, before. Yeah, that one. Of course, the picture is not that rosy. A lot of challenges, a lot of problems, and let me focus on like maybe 5 groups of problems. Behind every line, there's a whole set of issues and set of challenges. Number 1 is cost and resources usage optimization. Because basically governments and Central Asian republics spend huge amount of money for higher education, but very often they have issue about how to use them more effectively to make sure that every penny, tenge, som, sum, manat used effectively and used for students, not for fancy conferences, not for fancy buildings. Number 2, optimization of academic mobility flows. And again, idea is here, making sure that best researchers, best faculty members, young faculty members participate in academic mobility programs, and when they visit Western countries, including UK, they use their time 100% for research, for improving quality of their studies, quality of their teaching, and quality of their research projects. Next is quite controversial. We have a lot of publications about this topic and a lot of discussions. What's going on? Brain drain or brain gain? Because a lot of young scholars, actually from Central Asia, it's a fact, they're leaving and they move to foreign countries, including United Kingdom, and in large numbers to the United States, and lately to China. But what's going on? Is it brain drain? So we are losing best talents, or maybe it's a brain gain. So after getting some knowledge, expertise in the Western and foreign universities, they might come back and improve quality of higher education in home countries. So this is a big debate and big challenge. Next one is international education programs, integration and international standards. We talk about it. We know that very few universities in Central Asia moving into top 500 in QS ranking, and very few of them are in top 500 in Times higher education ranking. So idea is what's the challenge and how to deal with it. And final challenge is we could see that higher education in Central Asia moving towards commercialization. So it's brings good ideas and the bad ideas, good outputs and bad outputs. Next slide, please. Basically, in my presentation, in the 10 slides, I summarized several studies, what I conducted over the past few years. I studied using example of Kazakh universities, digital transformation of IR and UN studies. I had a study about internationalization of education and introducing sustainable development programs. I had research on education for sustainable development, usage of ICT, information communication technologies in higher education. And I used an example of global citizenship education as an example of changing in curricula. So basically, everything what I said, it's in the past 10 slides, actually outcome of my studies over the past 5 years, studies of higher education in Central Asia, especially focusing on Kazakhstan. Next. Thank you very much. And as in Central Asia, we say, thank you, Rahmet, Teshakur, Spasiba.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abasov. And I forgot to mention when I was introducing you that you write very regularly for articles and for journals, and we're very grateful for your last contribution to OCA magazine, which is part of your Eurasian Creative Guild's portfolio, about greening cities through greening campuses. That's a very interesting read. Thank you very much. I will ask Mr. Marat, who is also here from Eurasian Creative Guild, to talk a bit more about that magazine a bit later. But at the moment, we'll move on to our let's give opportunities to some questions, I think. Are there any direct questions at the moment for Dr. Abazov and his very interesting talk? We can always come back at the end, it's not a problem. There might be some comparisons. We have a question, yes, we do. From, who is that? I'm just looking, I can't see a name. Mr. Saxena, of course it is, sorry.
Yeah, no, sorry, no, just a question. First of all, say hello to Rafiz and for a fantastic talk. I just wanted to say that our Uzbek colleagues have kept up the momentum, like Bolashak. So it's a new program. It's called El Yurt Umidi, and in fact, I was quite proud to have the first grantee of that as my PhD student. So the program is going strong, and just a bit of information to support what Rafiz said. That's all for the moment.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to come back to you a little bit later for your contribution. Thank you very much. Let's move on then to our second speaker today. Just looking, yes, we have Miron Shoku Uktamov, as I've said earlier, educational expert and head of international cooperation, based in Samarkand. Could you give us your views, please?
Thank you very much, Edgar, to giving me a floor. So good afternoon for some colleagues and good evening for colleagues who are in Central Asia. Today, I would like to focus on, now I will share my screen. So can you see?
Yes, we can see.
So you can do the presentation, right?
Yes, we can.
So
yes.
Thank you very much. And today I'd like to focus on the tourism industry and importance of tourism education in Central Asian countries, in 5 Central Asian countries. And as you know, now all the countries in Central Asia are focusing on improving and developing the tourism sector, and mostly focusing on developing the education of tourism programs, both at an institutional level and at school as well, in lyceum and colleges. And we have several countries here in Central Asia that are the double landlocked or landlocked countries. So thus we are better to focus on the industry that could enhance or develop or increase the economy or affect the economy of the country. And I also would like to mention about the percentage of the tourism sector. It's not so developed yet in the countries of Central Asia, like in other countries and in the rest of the world. It consists around 4 to 6% of the GDP at the moment, GDP of the whole economy of the countries of the Central Asia. But in the near future, we're implementing new policies, new rules, new degree of the presidential in order to improve it and in order to increase the proportion of the contribution of the tourism in our GDP. And in the beginning, I would like to mention about the 2 agenda or plan, I may say. The first one is, as mentioned here, is the Central Asia Regional Economic Cooperation, and the second one, Almaty-Bishkek Economic Corridor, so Tourism Master Plan. So both of them are a kind of the pilot version of in developing economic sector of the countries in Central Asia, but at the same time, they also focus on developing the tourism sector in all the countries here in the Central Asia. So Central Asian Regional Economic Cooperation is regional cooperation development, which consists of 11 state members. So they are Afghanistan, Azerbaijan, China, so Georgia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Mongolia, Pakistan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and the last one is the Uzbekistan. So here, let's start with Uzbekistan. Now, in these 3 tables, I tried to focus on the number of visitors, foreign visitors to Uzbekistan. It's in the right side, and in the left side, in the below, in the table, we may see the tourists, the citizens of Uzbekistan visiting the foreign countries. And here in the table, we may see the presidential degree. Firstly, I need to mention that focusing and developing the tourism sector in Uzbekistan started even in the late 20th century with the contribution of our first president. And now also after coming a new president, he also kind of accepted so many presidential degrees in order to focus the tourism potential of the Uzbekistan. So the first one was in 2016 on measures to ensure the rapid development of tourism industry of the Republic of Uzbekistan. And during this 3 or 4 years, you may see we had so many presidential degrees with that focused on developing the tourism sector. And also I need to mention here about our university. So the university I'm working for, it is a Silford International University of Tourism and Cultural Heritage. The main purpose of which is to provide the personnel for the tourism and hospitality sector, not only for the countries of Central Asia, but all the countries of Asia and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization members.
And apologies, Mr. Uktamatov, could you move your slides on, where I'm only seeing the first slide?
Isn't it moving?
No, I don't know whether anybody else is seeing it move, but I'm not.
May I ask the organizers to help me?
Yep.
I think there is a technical issue.
Okay.
The simplest thing to do is if you come out of the full screen mode and just show them and just move them. That's the fastest way.
That's it. That's it. Yep.
Okay. So we have here 3 tables. So in the right side, there is a table with proportion of the foreign visitors to Uzbekistan. So in the left side, we have presidential degrees for 3 or 4 years, starting from 2016 and till 2019. And in the table below, we have here the proportion of our citizens visiting our countries. So if you focus on the proportion, now we will see the proportion for the Kyrgyzstan and the other states of the Central Asia, but mostly the highest proportion would belong to the neighborhood countries, because the main purpose of the tourism traveling here in Central Asian citizens is to visit their family members, to visit their relatives, because we have so many kind of relatives who are living even in Kazakhstan or Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Turkmenistan. And let's talk about the Kyrgyz Republic. And Kyrgyz Republic has also have their own goal and plan, which is called Program of the Government of the Kyrgyz Republic of Development of the Sphere of Tourism for 2019 and 2023, which illustrates the Kyrgyz Republic also kind of emphasizing and developing the tourism sector. And Kyrgyz Republic also has a good potential. And now we have a short movie here, so we don't have to watch the whole one. And here in the right side, we have a table, if you can see the proportion. So in 1,000% in 2014, if you see the most number of tourists came from Kazakhstan. In 2018, the highest proportion belongs to Uzbekistan. So it kind of fluctuates like this, but anyway, the highest proportion of the foreign visitors belong to the neighborhood countries, if you comparison it with the other kind of the rest of the world. And here we have the Kazakhstan, and about their strategy, it's called State Program for the Development of the Tourism Industry of the Republic of Kazakhstan for 2019 and 2025, which aim is to increase the proportion of the tourism in the GDP to 8% by 2025. And here I have mentioned about the tourism development strategy that focus on the development of tourism resources, ensuring access to tourist sites and the facilities, improvement of the quality of tourism products and services, and so on. And I also have to mention about the Kazakhstan. So the highest number of tourists visit Kazakhstan in comparison with the rest of the Central Asian countries. So they have more number of tourists coming to the Kazakhstan. So Kazakhstan has also the historical sites, cultural heritage, but also it has a modern cities in comparison with the rest ones. And about the Turkmenistan, while collecting the data, it was quite challenging to find out the proper data about the Turkmenistan because not so many kind of organizations or the kind of platforms have the reliable data about the Turkmenistan. That's why I have mentioned just the information I could find. It's a program of the President of Turkmenistan about the socio-economic development of the country from 2018 and 2024, which focused on developing the 2030 agenda of sustainable development, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And here you can see, here we call it Door of the Hell. If you heard about it, it's a kind of mysterious place which always has a fire of the Gaza Sea. One of the kind of brands for the Turkmenistan here, tourism product. And the last one is Tajikistan. And here we also have the table, which illustrates the number of tourists coming from abroad to Tajikistan. And we can see here that almost the same situation. The highest proportion belongs to Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, or kind of the Russian Federation. And it is planned, it's called the Tourism Development Strategy of the Republic of Tajikistan for the period of 2030. So we can almost see the same situation for all 5 member states here. They have own plans for upcoming years in order to improve the tourism sector in their countries. So economic impact report. Here I have mentioned about the amount of money that the states are receiving. So Uzbekistan is receiving from the international tourists around $1.5 billion US, and from the domestic tourists it's 825 million US dollars. So the dominant here we can see the Georgia, and well, we mentioned here about the Georgia, so the kind of country instead of mentioning here the Turkmenistan, so because of the challenges in finding the data. But anyway, if we see the numbers here between the states of the Central Asia, so the Kazakhstan is dominating here as well. So about I have mentioned also about the employability in the tourism industry. So which sector and how many kind of people they are employing, they're providing with a job. And here we have data for Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, and Tajikistan. And even still here, Kazakhstan is dominating with the highest number of employees, so personals who are working in tourism industry. So improving education, skills, and employment in tourism. So here I have mentioned about only 2 countries because the data is too huge, and Uzbekistan and Kyrgyz Republic. In both countries, we have so many colleges, we have so many kind of institutions, schools, or the universities that provide a tourism degree. In Uzbekistan, we need to mention about 2 higher education institutions. They are, if you heard about that, Management and Development Institute of Singapore, which is focused on providing the personals for tourism and hospitality. And the second one is the university I'm working for, Silk Road International University of Tourism and Cultural Heritage. So language of instruction for both universities are English, which that EGS the way the graduates of both universities could easily find some kind of work of their preferences. If we look at the statistics, so those who graduate Management Development Institute of Singapore, so 90%, 95% of them, they are employed after graduation. So if you mention about the Kyrgyz Republic, so there are so many universities, so higher institutions that provides with the tourism degree, but I would like to mention about the 2 of them, the main of them, they are Bishkek State University and Academy of Tourism. And here I have listed the international cooperation organization related to tourism, which means mostly they other than their activities, they also focus on developing the tourism sector. They provide so many grants they provide so many kind of programs in order to enhance develop the tourism sector in these states and countries. So in all countries, in Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and Turkmenistan. So cooperation among universities, here I have mentioned about the Japanese because there are so many universities and the number of them are cooperating in tourism and hospitality. And now here we focused on Japanese universities. So main of them, the University of Tsukuba, Nagoya University, Wakayama, and Takasaki. So all of them have the kind of cooperation with almost all member states of the Central Asian countries. So it is the end of my presentation. So I hope that it was quite interesting for you with the data, with so many kind of numbers. And if you have any question, we may discuss or we may respond at the end of the conference.
Thank you very much, Amir Ashok. That was very interesting, and I'm already seeing a pattern forming. Both of our speakers have talked about developing skills, and that's very much important in what you're doing there. And I think skills obviously are something that that's what education does. It provides skills to students, and so I think that's something which we will sort of dwell on a bit later. If anyone has any questions at the moment for Miran Shuk, that would be great. If not, we can come back at the end. I have asked our administrator to send me all of the presentations that you're producing, because I think there's an article here for OCA magazine a little bit later, just as a general thing about how we do things at the moment. There will be an educational version of OCA magazine, as I'm sure you're aware. And again, I will ask Marat to talk about that a bit later. Okay, well, thanks very much again for that presentation, and it's very interesting data there. Our next speaker is Dr. Loretta O'Donnell. As I said, is the Vice Provost for Academic Affairs at Nazarbayev University in Nur-Sultan, and has been there now for nearly 10 years. Wow, you must be one of the longest serving members of staff at Nazarbayev University. But great to see you again, and I'm looking forward to your presentation. Over to you, Loretta.
Thank you so much, Gareth, and it's great to see you as well. And your friends in the Rotary Club all send their best wishes. Everything is going well. Thank you so much.
That's great. Thank you.
Could I just check, is it better for me to share my screen, or would your colleagues like to run the presentation? I don't mind either way. We did send the presentation in advance. What's easier for you guys?
What do you think, Vitalina?
I can share my screen, but what is more comfortable for you?
Why don't, Vitalina, if you don't mind, you share your screen, and that might make it a little bit easier. Thank you so much. I will try and take about 10 minutes as well. And it is great to see everybody here today. Gareth, I've known for a long time when he was here in Kazakhstan, and I recognize some names. I think I have met some of my colleagues from other universities here at various conferences. As Gareth said, my name is Loretta O'Donnell. I'm the Vice Provost for Academic Affairs at Nazarbayev University, which, if you're not familiar with Kazakhstan, is a university based in the capital city of Nur-Sultan. The university is 12 years old, and I'm just going to talk about it as a bit of a case study because it's a very ambitious university, which is resourced to be a research intensive university, not only for Kazakhstan, but for the region as well. So Vitalina, if we can move to the next slide, please. Thank you very much. It's worth looking at this as a case study because we have a vision to give Kazakhstan and the world, the scientists, academics, managers, and entrepreneurs, the skills they need to prosper and develop. And the mission is to be a model for higher education reform and modern research in Kazakhstan, but also to be a contributor to knowledge. And when we contribute to knowledge, we mean not only doing our research, but working with colleagues in other universities here in Kazakhstan and in the region, but certainly, and I think uniquely in some ways, at least in our local area, to co-collaborate with students, particularly undergraduate students in research. So the next slide, please. Thank you very much. If you can keep going down, there's about 5 bullet points which should appear on this slide. So as I mentioned, we are a flagship, oh, there we go, a flagship university with these mandates to really try and work with our colleagues here to reform higher education in the sense of making it consistent with the sort of principles that Rafis was talking about. And I think that Miranshok was mentioning as well. So to meet international standards in everything that we do, to make sure our curriculum is up to date and research-based, to do a lot of research integrated teaching. And that requires, of course, academic excellence, research excellence. We are also very privileged to have a full medical school with an MD program, a Doctor of Medicine program, PhD in global health, a nursing school, and we have a series of hospitals which are part of our network. And our mandate is not only to be university, but also to reform medical care. And we're doing that through both nursing and medicine. And our final mandate, I think consistent with what Rafis and Miranshok were talking about, is to look at translating research into action. And we have an innovation cluster, which in the last 12 years has helped students and members of the local community develop about 160 startup organizations, some of which are funded by venture capital, both from within Kazakhstan and the region. Some of those businesses will become profitable, some of them won't, but we are really trying to develop the ecosystem and the infrastructure to allow entrepreneurial thinking to emerge and to thrive. We actually have a compulsory entrepreneurship course for all of our undergraduate students. So whether they're studying robotics, science, nursing, biomedical science, they all have to study entrepreneurship, as well as ethics, as well as Kazakh language and Kazakh history, because we want people to have a very broad as well as a deep education. Next slide, please. And we know that in order to do that, we have to be very clear about the stepping stones by which a research-intensive university can be successful here in Nur-Sultan, in the country and the region. We're very lucky we have a special law, so we are autonomous. We don't report directly to the Ministry of Education. So we are able to develop our own curriculum, our own assessment. We have a merit-based system for recruitment of all of our students at foundation, undergraduate, master's, PhD, but certainly a merit-based system for recruitment of faculty and for all our staff, our professional technical staff. Academic integrity and transparency, as I know it is a key issue for everybody, and we work very hard on that. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But we try really hard to integrate research and teaching so that not only are professors up to date in what they're teaching in the classroom, but we encourage our undergraduate students to work as research assistants for professors. They get paid a little bit of money to do that, but it gives them opportunities to be co-authors on conference papers and journal articles, to attend international conferences with their professors, and to develop a portfolio which makes them very attractive for graduate studies, if that's what they want, but also very attractive in the labour market. So many of our students go and join some of the best companies, both here in Kazakhstan and abroad, but we've got a number of students working for Google and Facebook and TikTok and a range of different organizations, all the big four accounting firms, Schlumberger, McKinsey's and so on. So whether they want to be professors or not is fine. We really try and make sure they have the research skills they need to be successful in professional life. And as we've heard before, we are also an English language university. We work with a range of strategic partnerships, including Cambridge, and several other universities as well. Our values are not only implicit, but explicit. We articulate our values in everything that we do. And we've got 8 specific graduate attributes, which really speak to our overall mandate. So could we have the next slide, please? Thank you very much. These I know are similar and familiar to many of you because it's what you would see in many universities around the world. But the first one and the second last one, I think, are particularly important. So the first one says possess an in-depth and sophisticated understanding of their domain of study. So that's why we've created a core curriculum. So students go very deep in the major, whether it's biology or sociology or or biomedical science. But they also have to go across a range of different subjects. So as I said before, everyone studies entrepreneurship, but they also study ethics. Everyone studies mathematics, everybody studies digital literacy. So there is breadth as well as depth. So our graduates really are highly trained, ready to take their skills with them to the workplace or to graduate studies. But as I said before, because they also have the opportunity to be research assistants, they're not only learning new knowledge, but in some cases they're creating new knowledge, which really gives them an edge in the labour market. But the second one, the second last one, demonstrate high personal integrity. We know, like all schools, universities and professional organisations, integrity is essential. We really can't be taken seriously unless we can demonstrate integrity. So we do that very carefully, very systematically, and we do that in partnership with students, with faculty, with staff, and with colleagues at other universities around Kazakhstan. Could we have the next slide, please? And everything that we do consistently with some of the themes that we've been exploring in the literature, including the recent report from the European Universities Association, University Without Walls, which is saying that teaching and research are really part of what universities do, but they essentially need to engage in innovation, as my previous speakers have already said. We certainly agree with that. But the point of all of that is to have a deep and lasting impact on society. We see our university as a mechanism for social change. It's not only with the students and the staff, the faculty that study here and work here, but with the ripple effects that it has on the community. Next slide, please. And as I mentioned earlier, we work with a range of strategic partners. We're very fortunate. I know many universities do, and Rafis mentioned that in his experience that's quite common, I think, particularly in Central Asia. I think Miranshok mentioned that too in terms of the Japanese interest in Central Asia. We've got a fairly sophisticated and complex model where we work with different strategic partners, different top universities, based on different disciplines. So for instance, we work with Duke, the Fuqua School of Business, with our business school. We did work with UCL, University College London, with our School of Engineering. That contract is now finished, but that was extremely helpful to get us up and going. We still work with University of Wisconsin-Madison in our Natural Sciences and Humanities. We also work with National University of Singapore, the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy, who advise us on our public policy programs. They help us recruit faculty and they engage in collaborative research, particularly with our early career researchers. We work with Colorado School of Mines for the School of Mining and Geosciences, and the University of Pittsburgh. We work in very close partnership with our medical school and our hospital network. Our Graduate School of Education has two partners, which is Cambridge and Penn University in the United States, and they help us recruit faculty. They are advisors on our PhD program, and they provide a regular quality review of everything that we do. So I think really to reflect on some points made by Rafis, we are international in the way we're structured. And of course, that means we have to meet international standards in everything that we do. Next slide, please. And as I mentioned, we are research intensive. So every single professor who comes here has to be research active. They have to publish in the appropriate Q1 journals or books or other policy advice documents that really represent international quality contribution to knowledge. And these are the broad themes that we are publishing in: intelligent systems and human machine interface. We have a special artificial intelligence area, which really works with our young students and our professors in robotics to really start developing new knowledge in this particular area. We've got a lot of professors working in advanced materials such as solar cells, and we've just about to graduate at a range of new PhD students that have got a lot of interesting innovations to do with solar cells in a Kazakh environment. Of course, energy, sustainability, environment, health and well-being is essential to our business school, but also our students studying biology and biomedical sciences, and social transformation and human capital development. So that's everything from anthropology to sociology, languages, linguistics, and so on. So we've got a fairly broad, comprehensive university, even though we're only about 7,000 students and about probably 600 faculty. We're trying very hard to have an impact, both in research terms and in academic affairs and education terms. Next slide, please. And the way we do that is through publishing in top journals. We have a field-weighted citation impact of about 1.37. So our professors are publishing in journals and are being cited about 37% above the international average. And about 68% of our professors are publishing with international collaborators, which Times Higher Education tell us is a lead indicator of future citations. But we do that because we are international. We were born global. We work with global partners. We have faculty that work here from 60 different countries, and we have students from about 30 different countries from around the world. So we try and meet and exceed the mandates that have been given to us. So even though we're doing reasonably well in terms of research, we want to be up, say, where Cambridge is. We're not 900 years old, we're only 12 years old, but we really aim to really have an impact, because we're doing research that's not only a contribution to theory, but a contribution to improving society here in Kazakhstan and in the Central Asian region. And we do that, as I said, by working with students very systematically and collaborating with professors from other universities here in Kazakhstan. To do that, of course, we need to continue to work on sources of research funding. We are generously funded by the government. We're also seeking funding from industry, from European partners, from a range of different sources at the moment. So we're working very hard to try and meet our research funding targets, because we're not there yet, but that's what we plan to do over the next few years. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, we know that we can't be taken seriously unless we're very clear and explicit about our approach to academic integrity. So here at the university, we try and provide a range of resources for students and faculty to make sure that cheating is difficult and doing the right thing is easy. For instance, the way we design assessments, we try and make that with making cheating difficult in mind, but we have a fantastic writing centre so that students actually go to specific classes to learn how to write, because we want them to develop their own ideas. We think their ideas are important and much more interesting than ideas they might cut and paste from the internet. So we give them the confidence to express themselves in their own ideas. But we've got librarians who are brilliant at running a series of workshops. We have access to software such as Turnitin. Students can access that as well, just to make sure they're not unintentionally plagiarizing. But we do have disciplinary panels. So if it turns out that students cheat and we catch them, we dismiss them from the university. So we're very clear about that, because we need to do it. That's us doing our job. Next slide, please. And of course, the same is true not only in the classroom, but in all our laboratories. We have to maintain research integrity, but we do aim for world-class research with high-impact collaboration. We prioritise programs where we think global but act local, and we're trying very hard to create a research culture and environment with cross-disciplinary and multidisciplinary research. And many of our research programs are funded only when the professors at our university can demonstrate they're working with professors from other universities in Kazakhstan. So we're really focused on collaborative research across the country. And we've just got 2 more slides. So next slide, please. So this is some of the equipment. If any of you are scientists or you've got friends and family in science, you'll probably recognize that this equipment, including supercomputing, is very expensive. It's a big investment by the country. in us as a university, but we do provide access to this equipment not only to our own professors, but professors from other Kazakh universities and increasingly research students at other Kazakh universities, including our telescope and all the access that our cosmologists have in using that as well. So we are very conscious that the investment in our university comes through the generosity of the taxpayers of Kazakhstan. So in a systematic and careful and prudent way, we're making sure that it's available to all the researchers that need it. So that's really it. The last slide is just some of the references that I used here, including the Universities Without Walls paper developed by the European University Association. And there's a great book, if anyone's interested, developed by Jamil Salmi on the challenge of establishing world-class universities, which we read and refer to often because that's what we're doing. We're establishing a world-class university in real time to really meet the needs of the knowledge economy and the ambitions of the people of Kazakhstan. And as with the other speakers, I'm happy to take questions or comments now or happy to wait till the end. But thank you, Gareth. That's the end.
Thank you very much, Loretta. That's very interesting. Where do I sign up? I mean, if university looked like that when I went to university, I think I'd have still been there now. That's fantastic. And I know that you have put a lot of hard work in over the last 12 years. No, more than that now, 10, yeah, more than that. And the actual university is a credit to you and all of your colleagues. Are there any questions at the moment for Loretta? I say we can wait till the end. I know we've got a few people joining us as we are going through, and some of them may have questions a bit later. Any questions at the moment? No. Okay, well, this could be good. Okay. All right, let's move on to our next speaker. Slightly different tack. We're going to hear from Siddharth Saxena, who is Director of Cambridge Central Asia Forum, Jesus College, Cambridge. And I'm going to open the floor to you and hear what your views are on education in Central Asia.
Thank you. I'm just wondering if you can see my slides.
Yes, yes we can.
Great. And I'm going to leave them in this mode rather than project them because I know probably they'll get stuck.
Okay.
Well, first of all, it's a great privilege and you know, and a great opportunity to be able to be part of this round table and discussion, to see old friends and how to say that the pandemic has started this new tradition for us to remain connected, and I think we need to take advantage of this, and it's really important that we do. And but having said that, I'm also very, very happy that I've just actually spent last week in Kazakhstan, the first time since the pandemic started, and now I'm in India, so that you can see me feeling warm and in a nice environment. And I will just an announcement to our friends that I will be in short time spending a week in Uzbekistan reconnecting. So this is a great sort of a you know, taster menu for that. I wanted to approach today's discussion. It's really wonderful to hear all the previous speakers, and it's very much in line with you know, our thinking and doing. And I'll take a you know, try to tell the story, the same story from a slightly different perspective, with additional emphasis on certain things. As a way of introduction for those who knew so I direct a program called Cambridge Central Asia Forum. And I'll say a few words about that. And myself, I have had the privilege of being trained both as a physicist and also a social anthropologist. And as a physicist, you will hear a little bit about that. And today's presentation is going to crisscross those two trainings of mine and how they leverage with the work we do in Central Asia. Enough just Central Asia actually says the wider Eurasia would be the remit. And I think that's also one of the good things about the OCA magazine. It connects that geography, what we call in Cambridge, the unbridged geography. Those borders are kind of whatever, you know, yes, those people, those ideas, and that's the theme of discussion today. And Marat has done a great job of being, you know, the flag bearer of that, and I like to celebrate him whenever I have a chance. Just as a introduction of Cambridge Central Asia Forum, in any other university other than Cambridge, you would be called Cambridge or Central Asia Center or an institute. But the way Cambridge is structured, we are a forum from inside, forum of different faculties, meaning that anyone who's interested in this region is welcome. And to not bother you to reading all those lots of words on the slide, the summary of those slides is that our main emphasis is to get the best minds in Cambridge, be they professors, be they students or researchers, to take interest in this wonderful geography, its history, its culture, but also its perspective and what it has to offer to the globe, which often gets forgotten because history tells us a different story. I mean, I also feel privileged in many ways that I was part of the original board which conceptualized Nazarbayev University. It was called at the time New University of Astana, New University of Technology of Astana, while it took. So it's really wonderful to hear Loretta's innovation. Of course, I follow. I have my own PhD students who are now teaching there in different schools. So it's really, really nice to see that story. And again, with Rafiz, we have crossed paths continuously and support each other's ideas of development in the region. I'm very much in his very much in agreement with him about the innovation that's done in the region is often not unacknowledged, and we need to bring to the forth. So having said all of that, just another flash of a bit of continued PR. So Cambridge, not just Central Asia Forum, but different faculties of Cambridge, which we have encouraged to take interest in this region. And you can see that we are not shoddy in our interest in this border region. And you can see everything from our education faculty to archaeology to Oriental studies to Cambridge University Press, engineering, earth sciences, you name it, we are engaged with the region because it has much to offer. To visit that particular, how to say, sentiment, I always like to emphasize, both for the people in the region and those who are studying the region or engaged with the region, that this region is amazingly, of course, part of the Great Silk Road. This is often overused metaphor, but I want to recast it for you in this small discussion. Central Asia is not just part of Silk Road. It's not silk as a commodity emerging in China and Europe as its market is how we often think of Silk Road, and Central Asia as this thoroughfare through which things pass through. I think that cannot be more incorrect way of understanding this wonderful place. The ideas that emerge from this region, it's starting from early metallurgy to domestication of horses, to the chariots, and continuing on, I'll say a few more words about the conceptual frameworks which emerged from this region, connected global cultures. So it's not just a Silk Road, it is the fountain for which the globe is connected historically. But, things are not always, remain the way they have been, and that's something we want to visit. So what I want to say here by that statement was that a lot of the knowledge that we have. So what is our primary job as academics? Is to convert information into knowledge and knowledge into public good and commercial gain. And that, I think, was echoed by others in different ways. But that's something I think Central Asia, this geography, is a great partner in being able to do that. And I want to visit that. And that, I think, needs to be understood locally. And that should give you confidence that you are, part of the global story, and you need to, in a way, not feel ashamed or feel that you're marginalized in some way. You are part of that. And it's a question of how to recast it in a modern sense. And institutions we have heard just now in the previous, from the previous speakers are really those, pixels of that picture. One simple thing that I really like to always share is that a slightly, a Cambridge perspective that, so we know how algorithm emerged from Bukhara, and there's no secret to anyone who studies the region. And that was an amazing discovery, and it took its time to find its way and how useful it's to modernity, how it is engine of modernity. And I like to add a little bit that how discovery of electron about 1,000 years later, after of discovery of algorithm in Bukhara, algorithm and electron, which was discovered in Cambridge, basically is everything we have. Right now we are talking through that. So this partnership between Cambridge and the region has, a long history, a long, it's like a rubber band that's been stretched in a sense, and it's coming back together. And I think that coming back is going to lead to new and more interesting things to happen. We're seeing already symptoms of that. So, but I think I want to focus on a specific thing. A specific thing is, before I start delving into this slide, I want to do a kind of a preamble a tiny bit, which is that when engaging with this region as global partners, and its most recent history of the Soviet era, it causes a lot of confusion, and also, in a sense, it's debilitating in how we talk about it. But Soviet Union and its politics, whatever it was, the fact is that the people of Central Asia and their natural resources played an important role in creating a very modern and developed society, whether we like its politics or not. And that created certain institutional frameworks which we need to understand and engage with in a proper sense to make progress. What do we mean by that? So first of all, if you look at the major technological breakthroughs that happened, like lasers, like the high frequency circuits, like metamaterials, these all emerged during the Soviet period, and many people from the region played a role in developing them. However, the institutional framework of Academy of Sciences and the university, Academy of Sciences where the research production happened, and universities where pedagogic development happened, had a specific logic or in that particular kind of economic and political system, which was left in many ways unattended or unsupervised or unresourced when the new era came 30 years ago. And the idea of a new, so Nazarbayev University is a great example of how you can restart in a sense. But then there are many other universities, I think, as Rafiz was referring to, how do they come into the picture? So, and what happens to the institution and the people of Academy of Sciences who did contain a great deal of knowledge frameworks, but also ways of teaching the new generation. That's all kind of gone to the wayside, and that needs a very important rethink at the moment. Kazakhstan has gone in a particular way, but Uzbekistan has a large Academy of Sciences, so do the Tajiks and Turkmens, and to some extent also the Kyrgyz, but across in Azerbaijan we have the same story, and we cannot just let that go away, and we need to engage with that. Today's presentation can't go deeper into that. That's a separate issue that I'm very interested in, but I want to highlight that because it's a kind of a hidden story which somehow doesn't get engaged with, but its effect can be felt. Having said that, I wanted to say that in the past we have had Asia as a dynamo of development, integration, and growth. The story that we talked about, whether it's the Soviet period or the ancient algorithm and many other ways of how this particular space became industrialized and created highest level of technology, but also the healthcare and education systems and other social deliveries. But what do we do? How do we approach that in the modern era? So we have still access to vast materials and metal space, which are needed for entirely new era of electronics, refrigeration, and energy storage. I highlight these three things, which are very important because these are the three fundamental technologies which underpin all other technologies. And I will explain that in a second. And Central Asia, through its proper use of skills development, its innovation that has been already talked about, and which emerges from this academic / university base, is going to be the engine through which region presents itself as a set of solutions to the global challenges like climate change, like food security, like environmental issues, and so on. So what are we looking at? So here is a very technical slide, and I'm going to show a couple of very technical slides, but you shouldn't be afraid because you don't need to know all the words in them. These just to give you, there are tangible things happening. The fact that we're working with this region into this way of thinking, a joint way of thinking, how energy generation, energy transmission, energy storage, and energy usage needs to be integrated. Think of a pipeline. If you only do one of them, there's a leak, and that leak makes all other things useless. And that amazingly, what we live in a world where solutions exist. Solutions exist because out here in Cambridge or in Stanford or in you can go to any top European university or Japan or Australia. We were doing research for the sake of curiosity, for doing research, but many of the outcomes could not find way into your households because the materials that needed to scale those technologies did not exist in our geography and our geology. We are wedded to using old technology based on silicon, for example, right? And we need to get out of that. And that's what the region offers. So it's a story that I want to touch, quite, not touch, but to hold on to quite strongly. And we give you another example, a tangible example. So for instance, in Cambridge, about nearly 40 years ago, we discovered plastic electronics by Sir Richard Friend, who became head of Cavendish Lab, became a Sir and received all variety of awards. His discovery of plastic electronics requires two things, requires plastics and requires rare earths to be practically available. So for example, if you make plastic solar cells, which you can make them. However, plastic solar cells have less of a meaning in a country like UK, where there's very little sun and very little plastic and almost no rare earths. However, just imagine what they mean for where you are. And a lot of, not just Kazakhstan, but a variety of countries of Central Asia. Not only that they are there, you have these things, but plastic solar cells are lighter. They don't use steel and glass. So rural Asia in general, which cannot sustain, which housing and buildings are quite weak to have big, heavy structures on them, require technologies like these, which can emerge from the region as practical solutions, although science risk has been taken elsewhere. But these are the things where education systems and science systems within the region needs to take into account. So we are trying to affect this through policy change at the level of ministries, which then, connects to what happens at the universities and academies and so on. The second quick example is that of superconducting. Of the famous maglev train, which runs in Shanghai. The trains which can run at high speeds without using too much power. Those are not really meant for taking passengers from one airport to the city center. They are meant for going across this vast space of Eurasia, carrying goods with very little carbon impact, very low energy impact. But the materials needed for that are in your geography, and experimentation engagement with that will come from this area if we plan properly. And this is what a lot of my own work and engagement currently is about. Here is a very, very quick figure on what kind of things, if you're a landlocked region, which you are, you need to think about what is the value of material and how you can value add. And this whole slide has one message. Don't try to make only the cars or only the iPads that are needed for global markets. Try to think about making that component that goes into every car and every kind of iPad that come into the future, which is high value, low volume, which relies on not silicon, not the current technologies. So technology transfer is an important thing, but technology transfer limits you to where the status quo is, how you can break out of the box. And those were the kind of things that I discussed before. And that's totally plausible. Plausible at scientific level, yes. Skills development level, yes. But the problem often is the policy glass ceiling. And I wanted to share with you this good, bad story. The good, bad story is that in 1900, there were more electric vehicles in North America than there were gasoline ones. Because of certain political lobbying and bad policy, we are now crying our tears with petroleum. And we're trying to believe that how, Elon Musk has solved everything. Here is a car back in Chicago, whether you can see the wire over here or not, I don't know, charging just like Tesla would today. This is 1900. Let's not make that mistake again. And I think the region is where we're going to find the solutions to much of what we're discussing. And I know that I've taken probably my time, but I just wanted to conclude by showing you a couple of slides in high-speed mode. So the message here is, while the Western technology giants have identified the potential and risk but they cannot move because global production chains are locked into the current frameworks, because they can't shut down petroleum engine car production. They can't shut down silicon production, because that's what their jobs and political economies are related to. While the region has the resources and it's not locked into those things. So the entry barrier is low. And it's also not a zero-sum game. It's a win-win of the east-west, north-south connectivities, where the region can play a very, very important role. Not enough time to go into details, but this talk to me later on. These are the projects we are now developing with Uzbek, Kazakh, Tajik, and even Turkmen government to see how they can be part of this global solution-based rather than global problem-based. So coming back to our core business as universities. So tomorrow's scientists, this is the picture. This is a slightly older data, but still is relevant. This is the picture of where the skill sets coming from for providing the solutions that we're discussing. Where can Central Asia fit into this picture? What I'm proposing or discussing here is that while working with Cambridge is great, working with Penn is great, working with all other NUS is great. I was quite happy to see both in the metric shown by Loretta and also Khan that the regional cooperation is increasing. That is an important fact to get a critical mass to grow, and set of institutions which are interconnected is going to deliver that. This is slightly easier visualization of data. You can see where the US and China and India sit, and how these colors are expanding and contracting. Now, when we say China, or when we say United States, or when we say India, they're very different meanings. When we say United States, this does not mean only, in fact, definitely doesn't mean American people only. This is what was something Rafi's referred to. There are a huge number of not Americans, in fact, a vast majority of not Americans who are getting higher level science and technology degrees from the US. Interestingly, that proportion is changing in China as well. There's a lot of regional people getting those degrees. And so this is not to demoralize you that you can't get into this metric. You get into this metrics by collaborative and other focuses being part of this color charts. It actually represents not only the titular country, but the people who go and get those degrees from those. The label of the degree here, not the label of the country or your passport, is important. So this is an important factor for how we develop the regional political economy, cause policy change, and be part of global solution base. This is achieved by what I call, and this is really a message, all academics know this. This is a message for those who are from policy side or from business side or people in general, to understand this very simple thing, that algebra of development, science is like culture and music. It's about grasping principles of nature. Engineering is systemizing those principles and applying them. And technology comes after that. So when you talk about technology innovation, you often start at the third place. You ignore the first two. And more, if you look at any large economy, whether it is Americans or Germans or Japanese or British or the Soviet Union for that matter, it invested in science. Science is a natural resource. So for as a shorthand, I want to remind you that one of the biggest, market doesn't create technology. It does not come from market demand. It comes from technological innovation maturing and finding right ecosystem to grow. For example, if market was the driver of the story, then why don't we have a cure for cancer? Is there more market for anything that? Or why are we stuck with 2 or 3 fuels for nuclear fission? Why we only have petroleum? These things are high. So the question is, the science actually has the ability to deliver many more solutions, and more you enrich that pool. And science doesn't mean just ideas or books or publication. It means the people who do science. And they go into very different spheres and provide different solutions. So my concluding slide is that new ways of thinking about leadership. Leadership here is about benevolence and incorporating things. New science and new technologies and new geographies and cultures is what is essence of how we think of education. And I think this was echoed by all our speakers before. And this obsession with spin-offs, it does not come from directly pursuit of technology. So a lot of people are encouraged to follow, various American models of when you leave your school and you abandon your education and you become an entrepreneur. That may be true if your parents have that kind of money to risk on you, but where you come from, you need to go through this process, and you will benefit more, and you'll benefit many more people as a process. And that's the value of education as far as I'm concerned. So I will finish with that. Thank you for your time, and sorry for going over. It's a very important topic, and I'm very passionate about it.
Thank you very much indeed. And your passion comes through, and rightly so. It is very, very interesting to see that you linking there the history of the region, the culture of the region, and then the future of the planet, which is fantastic. I've always felt that Kazakhstan in particular and Central Asia has a vital role, and I could never work out in my own heart why it was so important. But I think actually you've just managed to tick a few boxes in my head as to what's really going on. So thank you very much for that. Do we have any questions at the moment for Mr. Saxena? There was a lot of information there to take in, but that's fantastic. If you have any questions, please raise your hand, or there's some little icons you can use and things as well, but no, okay, not at the moment. Okay, we'll move on to our next speaker. I'm going to introduce Igorim Komenova, who is Vice Rector for Global Partnership at the Almaty Management University, and has done a lot of research into educational links and international links with the universities. So very much looking forward to what she has to say and sharing her expertise. So welcome, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here. And as everyone says, I see faces that I know. So I'm very happy to be with you today on this panel. That was a very fruitful event, and I was taking notes, and I really enjoy your presentations and questions. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for inviting us. I do not have slides, but I'll try to keep my presentation short because we are already 1.5 hours of talking, and I think there are many questions from the audience, so that needs to be discussed. So I'll go about not really focusing on the problems of higher education in Central Asia, rather than raising the question is, what can we do together to advance that higher education in our region? And from what I do as a Vice Rector for Global Partnerships at AlmaU, and also in my capacity as the chair for the UN Prime activity, I believe that our common goal is not just to educate people, not to educate only their minds, but also educate their hearts and shape the sustainable mindset for our young generations. And I think this is the angle that the university should have. Whatever they do, whatever they focus on, whether they're doing research or they're just updating their curriculum or engaging in meaningful partnerships with other institutions or any other stakeholders in the society. So the universities, I believe that they should align their strategies with, for example, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, with the ESG agenda. And AlmaU is actually doing that. We are looking at our strategy, and we have just updated it up until 2030. And we thought that this is very important for us, that our strategy solves these challenges of the society. Sorry, I accidentally muted myself, sorry. Yes, and I believe that engaging in kind of local and international partnerships is very important. And these are not only the partnerships from university to university, obviously that is very important, but also having kind of the activities within the third mission of the university, when you serve the society and present to the society something meaningful. And we have this principle that Alma U that we always say about is the triple win, is when the two sides cooperate, there is a win-win situation, but there should be always a third win when the society kind of earns from the partnership. So whenever we do any of our projects, we look at, is there this third win? And I believe this is very important. When I mentioned educating hearts, I come from the experience of Alma U running the course that we call service learning. We started it about 7 years ago, kind of as a pilot project that became our flagship program for all the undergraduate students. So every first year student, the freshman, should go through service learning course. The idea is that the 40% of the time they spend on campus going through some theory, but the 60% they have to spend somewhere outside in an NGO or a charity foundation, and kind of actually work for that foundation as a volunteer. And up to date, we have about 50,000 of volunteer hours work done by the students within this service learning course. And we are very happy to share that experience. We actually kind of had cases of transferring our experience to other universities in Kazakhstan. So we are very open. Should you have any questions, you can always reach out to us. In terms of internationalization, well, the pandemic kind of changed our plans in terms of sending students abroad and receiving students from abroad, same as with the faculty and staff. So we kind of engaged into more of kind of internationalizing our community here at Alma U by introducing them more opportunities to study online or to have an online mobility for our students from our partner institutions. We also have kind of engaged in a partnership with the Sintana Alliance since last year. It's an alliance of a number of universities, with the flagship university being the Arizona State in the US. And this partnership allowed us to kind of improve our internal system, our partnerships. That's why we actually changed our logo since last year. So we go as Alma U powered by Arizona State, which means that we have enhanced the quality of our programs. We made them kind of more international. We have the access to Arizona State repository, which is the database of all of their courses. We do run double degrees, joint programs. We offer English language capacity building programs for our faculty. We do joint research, and we believe that this kind of strategic partnerships actually have more impact on what we do as a university, and it also goes to our third mission activities. So kind of the things that we do go to kind of a whole new level, even in terms of promotion. So kind of summing up what I said, I believe that social responsibility, sustainable development, kind of the impactful education are the pillars for a modern university to succeed and to face the challenges that kind of happen every day to all of us. And in the times of uncertainty, is very important to nurture the young generation as responsible leaders with sustainable mindset. And kind of finishing up, I would like again to thank the organizers for bringing us all together today, and to thank all of the speakers for their great presentations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Igrim. I hope you can hear me. I lost my internet a little bit there, but I did get the majority of your thing, and I will listen to the recording to get all of it back again. I apologize for that. We were going to go over to Marat, but unfortunately he's had to leave. What we really wanted to talk about was OCA magazine. And as you know, there is a special education version coming out. A number of you participating today have contributed to OCA and to this particular edition. I'm going to ask Vitalina if she has any information to give us as to what is happening with the educational version. I know that the latest, well, call it ordinary version of OCA magazine is just out. And is available now. So over to you, Vitalina, and then I'll go back to people to see if they have questions.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you for all our speakers and listeners. I think we had a lot of interesting and meaningful ideas today, meaningful thoughts. And yes, we are planning to publish our new special issue, which is OCA Education, which will be published in October 2022. And the main aim of this project is to bring together universities, media experts, media representatives, other experts, just to promote education and research opportunities in the region. And we think that this is such an important opportunity and important topic. So we will be glad to receive articles from all our speakers which were performing today. Please send them if you have some interesting ideas and thoughts which you would like to share with other people. We promote our magazine in UK, in Central Asian countries, and I think we are open for all your ideas and thoughts. And that's it. Thank you, Gareth.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Vitalina, and thank you for the hard work you put in to organise this today. So this is the opportunity now that you've all been waiting for to ask questions of our panelists. I know that you've all got hundreds of questions there. I'm going to ask Mr. Saxena. First of all, where in India are you?
I'm in a city called Lucknow, which is about 500 kilometers southeast of Delhi. It's a small provincial city of 5 million people.
Okay, so you're up in the north there. I thought you might be in Bangalore or somewhere like that, a heart of technology, but okay. And I have to say, you are very passionate about what you believe. How did you get into studying Central Asia? I mean, you're a metallurgist, you're a psychologist. I mean, why Central Asia?
Well, it's kind of linked to the first question you asked, where I'm from in India, and our city Lucknow has a very old history of migration from Central Asia. It's the old Persianate world as well as the Turco-Persian world. And my simple interest developed from hearing stories about the history of my city and the people within it, and it did not add up because every place they mentioned was I'm old enough that everything they mentioned was in the Soviet Union, and so how could this history be part of a Western superpower? I mean, to us it's West, you don't think of Soviet Union as West, but for us in India it's all North and West. Whether it's US or UK or Soviet Union, it was all up there. And trying to untangle that is what got me involved, and then rest is history, as I say. And I should add that Cambridge University has been a great important place which allowed me to develop both my interests and nurtured them, and the colleagues and friends and students there are more responsible for it than anything else.
Okay, well, I'm very grateful that they have, and of course, your history from that part of India goes back to the Indus Valley and Alexander the Great, and all of the migrations that came this way, and all of the things that they brought with them. And so, that's actually very nice to sort of see it all, as I say, coming together under one roof. Does anybody have any questions about the presentations and want to know how to sign up to Nazarbayev University or any of the other universities that are on offer today? And it's an opportunity to speak to some world-class experts in your living room. Raisa, do you have any questions? It's very nice to see you.
Thank you very much for presentation. It was so very interesting. And I am teacher of German language. Ich möchte doch auf Deutsch ein wenig sagen. Ich bedanke mich bei euch für sehr interessante Seminare und die Information, dass wir bekommen haben. Und wir werden weitere Untersuchungen in Ihren Artikeln finden. Besten Dank vom Herzen. Dankeschön.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John.
Dankeschön.
I'm in Europe, so I can say these things. It's great. I'm actually in Bulgaria at the moment, so it's very international today. Okay, fantastic. Does anybody else? I'm not going to call people's names out.
Could I just ask?
Yes.
Or, Gareth, if I may, thank you. Just to let anyone who's interested know about a conference that we're hosting here in November. And I think it might be a particular interest to Mirenschok and some of his colleagues. It's free registration. It's being held both in person and online. It's a hybrid conference, and it's called the Heritage Alliance of the New Silk Road, HANSR, HANSA. And it's the fifth in a series of conferences to talk about heritage and the New Silk Road, obviously. But we welcome students, faculty, and interested museum curators, practitioners, anyone who's got an interest in heritage in this part of the world. And the theme is heritage in crisis, like what happens if you need to leave your home quickly? What do you do? What does heritage mean? Not just wartime, but other times as well. And if I can't use chat, but if you just look up HANSR, Heritage Alliance of the New Silk Road, and our university, you'll find it free registration. You, your students, your colleagues are most welcome. So, and Professor Saxena, if you can make it as well, that would be great, I think. And Rafis as well. Everyone who's interested, you're most welcome. It'll be small, about 30 people, but free to register. And if you come in person, there's a nice conference dinner. Anyway, just thought I'd mention that, Gareth. Just quick advertisement.
Thank you very much for the invitation. We will look forward.
Yeah,
Same
you mentioned,
here. Thank you.
the word food. That's good. Thank you for that. And that, it may be an opportunity for us to show off OCA magazine as well if we're in the region at the time. So that'd be great. Thank you. Are there any other questions for any of our speakers? Anything for any of our speakers at all? So I lost my internet towards the end, but I think everyone has actually heard everything. If there aren't any questions, and I know there's been a lot of information today, please, if you want more information, please contact Vitalina and OCA Magazine, Eurasian Creative Guild. One of the things that we really enjoy doing is getting people together, and this is a classic example. And you know, it's been my privilege to be the chairman of the Eurasian Creative Guild this year. Obviously, got another few more months to go. But I'm really looking forward to meeting some of you at our meetings and our conferences, seminars. There will be a lot more online, of course, but we're doing a lot more in person now. And I was going to big up Marat, who is the one that does all the traveling and seems to be in every place around the world at the same time. I don't know how he does it, but he's the most hardworking person I know, promoting Eurasian Creative Guild and promoting Eurasian European links as well. We're trying to do our little bit, trying to make the world a better place. And I think today we've learned a lot about how education can work towards that. So I'm very grateful for that. Creative people need to be in every walk of life. And as Dr. Saxena said there, you know, science, I think science is creative. And so therefore, you know, that's where people are, and that's where creative people can actually make this world a better place. And I hope that that's what we're doing, our little bit to help, because it's been a tough few years, and maybe another few years are also going to be tough, but I think keep our spirits up, keep working towards the goals that we've set, and I think that the world will be a better place at the end of it. I wish all of you very well. Please stay safe, healthy and well. And as you work back towards your students, whether it be your German students, Galina, whether it be the students at the universities or just people you help along the way, then please keep doing it. I really appreciate what you do. Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to draw it to a close there. Thank you very much. Great to see you all. Send my love to everybody, and I will speak to you again soon, I hope. Thank you very much. Thank you.